have huge, enormous skyscrapers. And it's like, it's really cool because you can fit so much stuff when you build upwards. But when you build outwards, you run out of room real fast.
Vertical living.
Yes, exactly. And it's really cool because you just stack people on top of each other.
You just go up.
Yeah. And you can just keep going up. There's a limitless amount. Of course, architecture is tough and all, but, there's a 4,000-foot building going up in, 2024. Or no. That's one of them. And then there's another one that's going to be over a mile high by the same architect that did the highest building in the world right now, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, which I'd like to go see.
So where's it going to be? Dubai again?
I don't know.
You can't just drop a.
I don't know. I don't know the location.
There's going to be a huge building. I just don't know where it is.
I got to go find it, though. It's a big game of world hide and seek where I have to find the big building.
Yeah, you'll be looking for a while. I would imagine you could go to, if I was guessing, I'd go to Dubai first.
Yeah.
Second would be probably
Shanghai. Tokyo.
I don't feel like Tokyo is that tall.
Shanghai.
Maybe Shanghai. Maybe we would know if it was in New York or like a Chicago.
It's not one of those.
It's not one of those. It has to be Dubai.
Yeah, probably. I really want to go to Dubai.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Looks great. Is there a Formula One race there?
Probably.
I hope so.
We're talking about a lot of things I have no idea about. We're starting off the podcast with tall buildings that I don't know where they are.
I jumped ahead. I wanted to talk about
Formula One races.
And I just want to say I really want to go to a Formula One race. Like, apparently it's pretty boring, but ever since I watched the show, Drive to Survive, I've gotten really into it. And, I didn't know one single driver, one team, nothing.
Yeah.
And then I watched the show, and it got me so into it. I started reading about all the players, the history, the teams, everything. And then my only former experience with it was, Rush, the movie, which was Niki Lauda. And so I got some history on that. But, it was still like a movie, so it was kind of theatrical.
So what got you hooked, though? Because I have, basically zero interest in racing, per se. But
yeah, so did I. Because my impression of it was kind of like NASCAR. I was like, gross.
Let's just drive around fast.
Yeah, but Formula One's super cool because, one, it's real roads. So it's not just in a circle, that's crazy to me. So all the races are, different. They'll have sharper turns. It'll have more, straightaways. There's a lot of dynamics to go into it.
And they're able to study it ahead of time?
Yeah. So it's usually the same ones. There's some minute changes, but they can say as much as they want. So the drivers are really cool because they have the whole, they're very good at what they do. They have the whole track planned out to what every turn should look like. The teams are pretty cool just because in other racing formats, usually the car is kind of either similar to each other or exactly the same with very small differences. But in Formula One, it's also the drivers' championship, which means so the driver can win individually, but his team has two drivers and they can win, which is called the constructors championship because they have to make the car and they can, be pretty creative with it, which is pretty cool.
Interesting. There's one in Austin, right?
Yeah, and that's what I looked at going to, but it's at the same time as the Las Vegas tournament.
We're in Las Vegas right now. This is the scene of the crime. This is where the podcast originated, kind of.
Did it?
Did it?
That doesn't seem correct at all.
Kind of. Freestyle.
Oh, yeah, that origination, correct.
The name origination.
Yeah.
Not the idea.
It's been far too long. So I realized, we can insert. So what we did with our last episode, which was our Casey guest episode, and we shot that in August, which was even before our last shot episode. But the real problem with it is we can insert. So you guys have more content, but we really starve ourselves on giving you content because the last time we gave you our real episode, where it's just the two of us, was like a month ago. And that's way too long.
That's way too long. And that episode was also very long.
Yeah.
But also, believe it or not, our most listened to episode by far.
Yeah, and I was like, afterwards, I was like, I don't feel like people are going to, stay tuned in for this long. And it was crazy, the retention rate and how much people liked the long thing. So I was like, I didn't expect that.
No, that was surprising.
Why the big sigh, Robert?
It's early.
Yeah, it's 7:30, but I'm on East Coast, so it's 10:30 for me.
Well, it still feels like 7:30 to me.
You look like you're
we've
at
got
7:30.
We've got a big day today. We're podcasting this morning, and then we're going to some courthouse,
private court in Las Vegas,
that you know. And we got Ryder here. We got our boy Jake Triplett here, and we're gonna record some nonsensical videos.
What do you mean by nonsensical?
I don't know. That's what I think about this podcast. It's all pretty nonsensical.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a word, but let's roll
No,
with it.
It is a word.
Oh, okay, how about that? Yeah. So people are like, so what's the YouTube channel going to be about? Well, what's our podcast about? It's like, whatever we want to talk about. I'm like, when I think about the
Whatever we
videos,
want to
the videos are going to be like, well, whatever we want to do.
Yeah, I looked at the ideas and they're all so stupid.
But we'll go do whatever we want to do. So,
Why don't we tease OKBYE a little bit?
yeah, let's.
Well, okay. So I mean, you kind of already did, but I had the name of it, and that's what I wanted to say. OKBYE. So from this podcast, we were trying to brainstorm a name, and we eventually came up with OKBYE. And as soon as Ryder said that, we were just like, "That's it.
Of course, that's it.
It's got to be it."
Yeah.
Because we wanted a name that isn't specifically pickleball. It can apply to a lot of things, and it's just kind of funny and cool. And I think the cool thing about it is it also conveys something that's not pickleball specific to the point where we can reach new audiences, younger people that aren't necessarily interested in pickleball. And I think that's really important for any channel or expanding pickleball.
Agreed. And I think, so we were all brainstorming. We were at the sushi spot in, where was it, Hermosa or somewhere over there?
Yeah, Hermosa.
Because that was right after we recorded with Casey. And we were talking about this, the YouTube channel. And I never knew this, but so if you guys know Dude Perfect, they do a bunch of videos, usually in the sports realm, of just ridiculous stuff. Like I saw one they had with like a bowler in an empty pool that had to roll the ball like around the entire pool and then try to make a strike on these pins. So they do just like fun, ridiculous videos and stuff like that. And I suppose one of their first videos they did, Ryder was telling the story, so he could tell it way better. But they did something, and one of the guys was just like, "Dude, perfect." And they're like, "That's our name, Dude Perfect."
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we say "OKBYE" in every episode. It's kind of like our little catchphrase. So "OKBYE" just made sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
So funny videos coming soon.
Yeah, and just a little, background. So Jake Triplett is. So I met Jake through, it's kind of an indirect. It was like two worlds combining a little bit, because I've got a buddy that I, grew up with and he was on my college tennis team, a guy named John Christ. And Jake Triplett knows John, and I saw Jake was into pickleball, and he's at a pickleball tournament in Arizona. So we started talking, and then he was like, "Dude, nobody's really doing, pickleball very well for YouTube." And I was like, "No, they're not." He's like, "We should do something." I was like, "Yeah, we should do something." And then that day we decided to do something.
Bam.
And now OKBYE is born.
Done.
It might be bad.
I think it's going to be good.
But it might be bad.
People appreciate our idiocy.
Yeah. Well, the good part is that we just don't care.
Oh, you think it's bad? That's so funny.
We talk about this all the time.
You have an opinion on it.
We talk about it all the time. It's like, it's so much better to just go into stuff not caring.
Oh, gosh, the best. I was always told by my dad, if you're going into a job interview or something, it's best to not care. Just like you're interviewing them, not vice versa. I was like, yeah, but if you really care, how do you do that? And he's like, well, you have to not care. It's like, oh, well, how do I achieve that? And then I grew up and lived my life like that.
It's so true, though. It's like even
care enough not to care, Robert.
It's even what we talk about. Oh, good save, good hands, good hands. It's like what we talked about, even like with the podcast and like getting sponsorship. It's like, let's just throw out super high numbers and
ridiculous numbers.
If they say yes, great. If they don't, who cares? Not us. So,
Jack's just humming over there.
Yeah. We have an audience. We have a live studio audience. It's Jack.
Now's a good time to skip again around the episode and talk about banana nut bread.
Okay. Oh,
This
the
is
story.
your story.
The story. All right. So back in, this must have been, it was definitely 2010. Wow, it's so long ago. It's crazy. I was
11.
So weird. I was living in Huntington Beach, and I had just met Jack, and this might have been like the first, 2 or 3 times we've hung out. And like I invited her to come over, like watch a movie or something, hang out to my place. I had some roommates, and I got them out of the house so I could hang out with her. And she comes over, so sweet, with just a thing of banana nut bread and hands it to me. I'm like, oh, thank you. And then I like examine it a little closer, and I saw that it had nuts in it. And I'm very particular with certain things. Like, one, ice cream should never have nuts in it. Ice cream's smooth and silky, and the texture's soft, and I want to maintain my ice cream like that.
Uh-huh.
And if it's something hard like Oreo, that's okay. It's sweet. But to have just a random nut in my ice cream, get out of here. Get out of here. So I take that philosophy into soft, moist bread as well. I don't think there should be nuts in there. And I noticed there was nuts in my banana nut bread. I don't know if I told her I don't like nuts ahead of time. Did I? No,
when you told me the story, you didn't tell her.
Okay, so how could I? I didn't know she was going to be bringing
right.
Anyway, she hands me the bread. I'm looking at it. I was like, oh, thank you so much. God. I was like, I don't think I'm going to eat this, though, because it has nuts in it. But thank you. Or something along those lines. And she was, we have, this is shocking, actually. I didn't think they were going to do it. We got coffee delivery all the way to the door. We thought they were only going to bring it to the front. Dun, 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 dun. Coffee. Okay, so that's the banana nut bread story. Yeah, looking back, I was kind of a dick. I should have just graciously accepted the banana nut bread, and eaten it, and put a big smile on my face like I was at my grandma's house.
But you didn't.
But I didn't. And look, she's still here. Incredible. I think that tells everybody more about me than her. Right? The fact that I was able to keep her after that. Like, how about that resilience? I really bounced back.
Yeah, I don't know.
So anyways.
It's hard to say. I don't know what I'd do if somebody did that. Yeah, but okay. I don't think I'd really take offense. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But on the other hand.
You're also not a female that's trying to.
Correct.
Yeah. That she was trying to impress me, obviously. So, and it did work. I was like, she actually made bread. That's very thoughtful. I just am not going to eat it.
So the gesture was appreciated.
Absolutely.
Anyway, banana nut bread giveaway.
Okay, yeah. So what we're going to do is whoever. So you're going to get an entry. If you rate and review the podcast, and it has to, like, honestly, no, I don't care what you rate it. You can rate it whatever you want. If you think it's a 1, rate it a 1. You could still get some banana nut bread. So you get an entry if you rate and review the podcast on, I don't know where you can do that. Apple Podcasts, I know you can do reviews. I don't know if you can do that on any of
you can
others.
on Spotify, I think.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll look at all of them. But if you rate and review the podcast dated whenever we publish this, probably later today, if it's dated that day or later, you will have an entry into the banana nut bread giveaway. So Jack will make her famous banana nut bread. I can guarantee you I'm not eating it, but we will ship that out to one lucky recipient of the banana nut bread. And also, to get an additional entry, if you tag at Freestyle Boys or Ben or myself on social and share the banana nut bread giveaway and the podcast, that will be an additional entry. That's a lot. That's a lot of rules for
I don't
giveaway.
like rules.
I don't either,
They're
but
limiting.
That's what we're at. So rate and review, and then on top of that, share on Facebook, tag us, and we'll maybe send you banana nut bread if you win. That sounds reasonable. What else we got, Ben?
That's what I do. I like banana nut bread with nuts or no nuts. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to more pickleball stuff. Major League Pickleball is impending. So I just saw an article recently. I think I shared it on my page on Facebook too. And basically just detailed kind of Major League Pickleball in Austin. They had some legit coverage and write-up of it and kind of a list of people that were investing in it. I saw one of the owners of the Bucks in the NBA. What was his name? Mark
Lazary. He's also partnered with James Blake. Mm-hmm. So previous world number 4 in tennis.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they did a legit launch. What I liked about MLP was that they're investing a lot of money. They're doing it the right way. They're building some hype. And if you compare it to you can't compare them really, but if you're comparing kind of like when the tours came in and started, there wasn't it wasn't like a big announcement and like a build up. It was just like, here's the first tournament. And we're gonna build this thing out, which also worked for them. But I like the fact that
Go big immediately.
they're building hype. We got this draft event happening next week at the Texas Open, and then about a month later you got the actual event. So it's cool that they actually they're building a lot of hype. They did a launch. They got some PR. There's going to be I heard a good article in the Sports Biz Journal, which is a big deal because that's kind of the industry standard for basically executive in sports, like where they keep up with their news. So that'll be good, and it'll be exciting to see how it all plays out. The draft's going to be really cool, I think.
Yeah. So I heard this recently. I forget if you told me this, I think. So each team is now going to have an advisor during the draft, and that advisor is going to be a senior pro, which makes a lot of sense because they won't be drafted themselves, but they know plenty about who should be drafted. And it seems, at least I heard from kind of the organizer of the draft, that all the team owners really want to win. Like, they're all very competitive, and they don't want to look like idiots in the drafts. They're like, yeah, we need an advisor, and we're going to listen to the advisor.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's smart.
And yeah, I don't. Steve told me a couple of things I could not talk about. I just can't remember which one it was.
Because there's shots in the dark.
There's one thing I really want to share, but I just don't remember if it was one of the things I can't share. So I'm just not going to share. Anyways,
how sad.
Fun stuff to come.
Mm-hmm.
MLP. Oh, I guess one thing I can't say is MLP is not going to just be a one event and done type deal.
Right.
Like, it's going to. I mean, they're doing this for the long run. This is going to be an ongoing league. There's going to be more drafts. There's going to be more seasons next year. Like, it's a thing. It's happening, and it's going to be here. It's going to be here to stay. So, just another cool thing at pickleball, which will help grow the sport.
Also, I like Steve's attitude with it. He said, "Yeah, we're going to go huge immediately, but I also recognize I'm not going to get anywhere near to perfect or what I want it to be the first time. We're going to make errors. Yeah. We're going to make mistakes. And hopefully it goes well enough to where everyone still sees what it could be and how good that's going to be. And I think they will. And the really cool thing about that is if they go huge on the first one and they're only looking to get better, it says a lot about how good it can be.
Yeah, agreed.
And one cool side note, the draft is happening at the Texas Open on Friday, pretty soon here. So just a week away, yeah. And it's happening in a castle.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the venue, but it's in Rockwall, actually, where the PPA event is.
Rockwall, how appropriate.
So, gosh, thanks for that contribution. So, wow, Rockwall. So yeah, it's in Rockwall. It's at some castle-looking spot. So they're also doing that big, and it's going to be live stream. It's going to be a legit broadcast. You can also go live in person if you're going to be in the area. It'll be really cool to see live. Unless you're one of the 17th or 18th players.
It feels really bad. Just walks out of the castle like, bye guys, have fun.
Then it won't be very fun, I guess. But I think the cool thing is they're gonna have alternates come, because who knows what can happen, in the amount of a month. After playing a lot of pickleball, people get injured, people's plans change. So there's gonna be some alternates that also come and are around if anything happens at the event. So.
Yeah.
So that's MLP. Anything else there?
Draft revisions.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to make only one draft revision.
Go ahead.
I haven't seen Yana Grichkana play very much recently, and Susanna Barr has been very impressive. I'd like to sub her.
Yeah, fair enough. She's been lighting it up. Susanna's been playing really well. A lot of great results. So, yeah, approved. Stamp.
Approved. Nice.
There's probably more revisions, but I just don't remember the draft we had.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
People already heard our opinion. Shall we talk about the GoFundMe page?
Yeah.
I could rant a lot about that. I'm not going to.
Briefly.
Yeah. But so Jill Braverman started a GoFundMe for pro pickleball. Basically, like, the mid-tier pros don't get paid enough and all this stuff. And then started a GoFundMe for it, which I thought was just like, wow. First of all, well-intentioned. I don't believe she had any bad intentions there. And, that's really the first thing that always matters to me in anything. Just because you're well-intentioned, that doesn't mean it was a good decision. Right. I think the GoFundMe looked idiotic and pathetic. Making the sport looking professional is not about asking for money from crowdsourcing. I mean, it's about making it look more professional such that you get more money naturally, and that kind of did the opposite. So it's kind of self-defeating. And That's pretty much all I have to say about that. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Yeah.
Well, I'd say one
I'm
thing to add
mixed
on to
on
that.
this. I think, obviously, I don't think it was the right way to go about getting more money in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, well-intentioned. But on the entrepreneur side of me, like, I like that she tried something different.
She did.
I just don't like that she did it in a silo. Like, she didn't talk to any other pros, really,
Mm-hmm.
that I know of.
Yeah.
And she just kind of did it on her own and just threw it up there and, crossed her fingers, and obviously didn't turn out great.
Yeah.
But I like the creativity. I think, I like when people try new things.
Yep.
But, yeah, just not in the best way. But that happens when you take risk and put yourself out there. And so I don't know. I don't want to fault her. I think she, like you said, well-intentioned. Just definitely better ways to go about it. Probably not the best look for outside sponsors. Like, if they're seeing stuff like that, they're like, "Oh, what are they doing?"
Right. One thing I'd make a comparison on it too, and as somebody that's at the top getting paid, and looking at mid-tier to lower level tier pros not really getting paid, it's easy to stand on my high horse and just say stuff. So I'm not going to go on too much. But what I would say is, if you look at a sport like tennis and you compare it to pickleball, there is no real comparison. You can't say I deserve to be paid what a tennis player is paid, because the comparison is ridiculous. You have 1,000 times more players competing and training, and there's a whole infrastructure for it. Essentially, your competition is much, much, much higher in terms of quantity.
Yep.
When you have more quantity, you're going to get a lot more quality, and it's just harder to be good. So, for instance, if you just scale that proportionally, say there's approximately 1,000 times more competitive tennis players as there are pro players, pickleball players, which I think is a reasonable number. If you multiply what you're making per your ranking by 1,000, I don't think it's that far off for most. All right. Obviously, multiplying 0 by 1,000 doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you multiply, say, what the 10th person is making, which I think is definitely in the plus side, by 1,000, it might be comparable to the 10th person in tennis. Might be, approximately. So, I mean, what people really got to realize is when you're on the forefront of a sport and there's just not that many people playing, and it's very easy to get good very quickly, I wouldn't really feel so good about yourself for being good quickly as just realizing, hey, it was kind of easy to do. There's not that many players. I don't just deserve to be paid a lot of money simply because there's a small player pool. So that's my
Fair.
opinion on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. You can't. Yeah, I don't think tennis is a good comparison whatsoever. I think you have to look at other more niche sports. I think that's a better comparison. I go back to even volleyball is kind of a decent comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what their purses are, but I would say the competition for volleyball, beach volleyball, is like Casey said in our episode. He said, guys always try to hack the system and shortcut getting good,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, no matter what, it's always 6 years.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't do it faster than 6 years. I don't care who you are. I don't care how talented you are. It's going to take you 6
So
years.
you can scale that to pickleball. How long does it take to get top 10? You can do it within 2.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the player pool is just much deeper. There's more competition in some of these sports, and you're right. It shouldn't be that fast, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I think on the flip side of it, though, when there's more money involved, it is the chicken and egg thing. But when there's more money involved,
More players
you're going
come.
to see players flood in,
Mhm.
right? Like Adam Stone always says. This is really funny, actually. We were just randomly sitting in Costa Rica at the pool, and I think we were both like pissed off because we were sitting there talking, and you were over there doing burpees or something. We're like, this guy needs to stop. What are you doing? We had just drilled in the heat and like just sweated our things off, and should I censor myself on this podcast?
No.
Yeah. Why am I censoring myself? Anyways. And so Adam and I are just sitting there like, this guy, why doesn't he just stop doing burpees or something? And then we start talking about pickleball, and then he's like, somebody's going to beat him. People are going to come along and beat him. He's like, you know what, Rob? People are good at things. But like with that look in his face. People are good at things. And people are very good at things when it involves playing a game for money. Like, it's pretty accurate.
It's really accurate.
Like,
If you can
when
play a
there's-
game for money,
Yeah.
you're going to get good at it.
People are going to come in and get good, and they're going to come after you. So,
Mhm.
so when
So you got to stay ahead of the curve.
when real money starts coming in, the talent's going to come. So,
How How exciting. Player coalitions.
Player coalitions.
Well, we talked a little bit about this with Casey, and he thought it was kind of important to do. And
Yeah.
I think it's just really important to do it the right way because it's very easy for it to go badly. And this also comes back to kind of my opinion on a lot of pro players being somewhat cavalier about what they do, or I even might term it like unthankful. It's like, hey, you're playing a really cool sport and you get paid to do it. You're hitting a wiffle ball around. That's pretty cool. And, still it seems like a lot of pros are dissatisfied with tournaments. And we've had our own complaints about tournaments, like, hey, parking, like, it's, random stuff that's pretty easy to do. Whereas I feel like some pros don't really have very realistic expectations for where the sport's at. And I'm just like, you realize that if this tournament were to do that, they wouldn't have any money left, and then they just wouldn't exist because they can't make money on the tournament. So there's just stuff like that where you can imagine where a players' coalition, given enough weight and enough people behind it, if they're making bad decisions, it just gets very frustrating and stagnant for the sport because you're basically having something, an organization demand stuff that isn't realistic. So I really want to avoid that happening with any players' coalition, but it seems to be headed in a pretty good direction right now, and I think there's just one major one that's being kind of constructed right now. I don't really have a timeline for it, but looks good.
Yeah, I feel like it's been talked about for a while, and it seems like there's a little bit more momentum happening. But and then there's another. I saw off my Facebook post I wrote about the Costa Pro Pickleball, and I don't remember his name, but somebody posted about like he formed this a few years ago, this players coalition, and then some other stuff. And he sent me an email that I just haven't gotten back to, and left me a voicemail as well. So it sounds like there's another guy or a group of guys, like a guy and his partner, that are looking to also create or have already created a kind of a players coalition. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Things are moving on that front, which is interesting. Do I need to talk about? So you have Facebook posts on here. Yeah, so I wrote that post, Costa Pro Pickleball, and then I did a little follow up with some solutions and stuff. But yeah, to Ben's point, for kind of like the mid-tier, low-tier pros, it's a financial net negative, like for sure. And I didn't really write the first one with an opinion or anything. I just wanted to kind of outline so people knew like what it actually looks like to go play pro pickleball. I was able to play free.
People just don't know numbers.
Yeah, they don't know numbers, and I was able to basically play for a year without a real sponsorship, and not many people are going to be able to do that because it's so expensive. So I guess my main thing was the barrier right now is just it's so big for somebody new coming into the sport. With cost. Like
we were saying before, I think on another episode, you kind of need a guide.
You do.
You need something that tells you which to register for, how to kind of save money. You got to make some friends. Maybe you can stay with people. Like there's a lot of ways to kind of cut corners and do it in an easier way.
Yeah.
But if you're new and you don't have that, it's tough.
Yeah, and it was a little bit of a mindset shift for me because when I first started traveling for tournaments, like when Jack and I would travel in the past, it was all for one, we weren't traveling this much. Like now it's like, every week, every other week type stuff. When we were traveling in the past, it'd be fun. It'd be like fun. Like it might still be a work trip, but it'd be like a fun vacation type trip where we're going somewhere cool and we'll stay in a little bit of a nicer spot.
Right.
And we won't be so cost conscious because we'll do that maybe once a month or once every couple months. So you're thinking less about cost.
Now you're doing this
but when you do it when you do it 35 weeks out of the year, you're like, I can't have a trip like that every weekend. This isn't a splurge trip every weekend.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of shift your mindset of like, having a host occasionally is not terrible.
Right.
You get to save $500.
And also, I'd say one of the most difficult parts is even if you are good and even if you can support yourself for a while, you're not going to get good partners quickly. It just doesn't happen.
No.
Everyone's committed too far in advance. And say even you do well your first year somehow with a subpar partner, it's like people are already committed for that second year and they don't really want to commit to a guy that's only had 1 year of experience. Like it's that break-in time where, you can be top 10 within 2 years, but it's difficult.
I think the only way to do that is the way Jocelyn and Pat did it.
Yeah.
If they come in together and they play every tournament together, they train together. I think that's really the only realistic way to do it now, considering how deep it is. Maybe a couple years ago you could do it.
Oh yeah,
Without it?
It was different back then.
But now it's much deeper. Like you've got like when we did the draft, you've got 30, 35 good guys.
Yeah.
Like good players. So yeah, it's just not possible anymore. Like if you're a new player coming in, grab your tennis buddy and practice together and come in. So otherwise, it's going to be like it's a 2 to 3 year plan to get good partners.
It's tough to lose over and over.
It's not fun. This is speaking from experience. It's not fun.
Okay. Let's talk Hall of Fame. I have opinions on this. Strong opinions. Right?
Well,
about everything.
I mean, it was a big controversy on the Facebooks.
Yeah. I mean, the short of it is that there was a Hall of Fame started, I don't know, what was it, like 3 years ago now? 2 to 3 years ago. I could be wrong about that. It was by Seymour Rifkin, Wesley Gabrielson, Steve Kuhn was involved. Now Tim Klitsch is involved currently.
There's 17 inductees already.
Yeah. So that's one of my big things. I'll get to that in a second. But the real kind of weird thing about it is the USAPA hasn't recognized it, and they are starting their own Hall of Fame, which is just completely, par for the course for pickleball, just very divisive, and everyone's confused. You know how you have 6 ranking systems, and now you have 2 Hall of Fames. Wow, what a sport. So that's just a very weird move by USA Pickleball, even if, the other guys aren't doing it right, and nobody expects you to do anything perfectly. But it's completely nonsensical. It's almost like a childish move, in my opinion, where you just go, oh, you're going to do it without any authority? Well, we're going to do it better. And it's just like, well, how about you just let them try to do a good job and trust them on that and maybe go work on some other stuff. And I think USA Pickleball has plenty of stuff to pursue, and I think they can do a good job with the things they pursue. But it just seems unnecessary when you could just have them be like, hey, here are some things we'd like in the Hall of Fame, maybe take our opinion into account. That seems reasonable, whereas you're kind of just fighting each other for no real reason. My only thing with the current Hall of Fame that I don't think is ideal is how many people they're inducting at such a high rate. It's like pickleball is a pretty small world. There's not that many people that you're going to be like, oh, they need to be in the Hall of Fame now. It's just like, hey, how about one inductee a year?
Yeah.
And you kind of pace yourself that way.
It's
Whereas
a Hall of
now
Fame. It should be very hard to get in.
It should, and it should be very special. So I think this year's nominees include Kyle. So that's awesome, and I think Kyle eventually would absolutely be in the Hall of Fame. But doesn't it kind of feel weird when he's like, he's 26 years old
and
he's still playing
and still good.
Yeah, he's still a very relevant top pro player. And it's like, oh, time for the Hall of Fame. Like, wait a second, the career's not over. Hold on there. And it should just be, I think it should be in retrospect for any player, like after they're done playing. Even like Jennifer LaCour, Alex Hamner, who certainly should be in. You could wait a little bit, right? Just pace yourself. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, totally agree.
But I think it's going to be really cool the way they're doing it in Austin because they have 2 major backers in Steve Kuhn and Tim Klitsch for doing a good job. So Tim, and what's cool about this is just about every Hall of Fame in every sport it's like third-party run. Like it's not a major organization that runs it. It's like somebody else does it, and they just do a good job with it. So Tim, for instance, is going to host like all the Hall of Fame museum-esque thing.
Like brick and mortar.
Yeah, so like a building with everyone recognized and stories about them and all that, which every Hall of Fame should have. So just kind of independent people coming together to do something pretty cool, and that's why I don't think the USA Pickleball has any reason to fight it.
Yeah, I think Steve's just providing the location and providing the building and. Which is really generous.
We've talked to Steve about this. And he's just like, I don't care who does it. I just want it to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try.
Yeah. No, so Tim at Pickle Ranch is making that happen. Hopefully Pickle Ranch is going to be done soon. Do you know?
Yeah, it got delayed a little bit because of some city stuff. Dang cities. It'll be partially done early next year. It's not going to be fully done, I don't think, until like April.
Okay. In terms of just Hall of Fame, this made me think of it. There's a Pickleball Hall of Fame tournament in Austin at Dreamland the end of October. I think it's the Halloween weekend.
Oh, fun.
So 28th to 31st, something like that. There's only 4 courts there right now, but they're building the other 12.
Uh-huh.
And Steve yesterday said that those courts will be ready for that tournament. So by the end of October, and it's crazy. They
brand new.
They literally just started building these courts last week. Like I mean, it was dirt last week,
Yeah.
and they're going to be done by
Classic
kind of
Steve. When he wants something to happen, he gets it to happen.
He's like, we told him we'd get it done. We got to get it done. So really cool. The Dreamland's going to have 16 courts soon. You can do legit events there at that point. So, oh yeah, we have merch dropping.
Merch. I know we've been really slow with this, guys.
Very slow.
In a classic freestyle fashion, we got busy with other stuff, and we didn't really do it. And then, like, a couple days ago, I was like, Robert, we need to do this.
Yeah.
Because, you guys are asking. I was wearing a freestyle hat, and everyone liked it. And, we just get questions about it a lot. So our merch will be dropping soon. I think it's going to be, 3 to 4 shirts, a hat. We have like a what do you call Teespring? Like a provider by order, on order. What's the term for that?
It's like print on demand.
Made to order. Yeah. And I'm thinking to start. I kind of looked at their margins, and I'm more interested in just getting our merch out there. Everybody wearing it. Not really interested in a profit margin at this point for merch. So you guys will get the lowest price we can possibly give you.
Boom.
And that's all I have to say about that.
We already teased OKBYE, so that's YouTube channel. We'll probably have our first video live in the next couple weeks, I would say, which is going to be really fun and exciting. Results, Orlando, PPA Cup.
Orlando, only surprising things I'd say are Waters winning women's doubles, Kohler and JW making finals, and me and Simone losing mixed doubles. Those are the main three.
Yeah.
Waters winning, I'd say they're due. Annalie was playing amazing the whole weekend. It is. She basically kind of just won that match for them.
Annalie's good.
Lee played well.
Annalie's good at pickleball.
Annalie was dominant. Men's doubles, Kohler and JW. That was interesting. I mean, I watched them play Riley and Tyson a little bit. That was the upset that they got.
Yeah.
And basically it was just mostly, I think, JW playing really consistent and Kohler being long and attacking really well. I think the ball was soft enough to where both teams would just get into the line every time.
Yeah.
And then basically Kohler would attack the best out of all four of them, and that's kind of what won it for them, in my opinion.
Exactly it.
And I feel like that's what he did in the final, too.
Yeah.
It was JW didn't really attack much. He played quite passive, and he didn't really miss very much. He's good at what he does. And Kohler was just long and tricky, and he got some errors out of us. But I think Matt counters too well to kind of let that happen. Mixed doubles. Oh, well, we lost. Deckel's big. He played some very good mixed doubles.
He did, and Viv played very well too.
Yeah, I've never seen her play that well.
No, she was super
on
solid
point on the counters, just some huge Lucy-esque swings.
Yeah, yep.
She's like, damn. Usually I can just flip it and just rely on getting that next one back, and she's just like, nope, I'm gonna take an enormous swing at this one.
Yeah. And hit it cleanly.
Yes, correct. That's difficult to do. Other than that, I wouldn't say any results were too surprising. Jocelyn and Jesse beating Declan and Vivian after their win was kind of unfortunate for them. It was a good match, but you can see how either of those teams could win that one.
Conditions were tough too. It was hot and really humid, and Declan's a big guy, and Declan moved a lot in your match. He had a big first round match against Pat and Lauren.
Yeah, and which went pretty evident the next day in men's doubles. He was pretty exhausted. Yeah, I think that's just about all on Orlando. Do we want to talk about Atlanta? I don't think there was anything to. Yeah, forget it. Upcoming Plaza, Texas.
We're at the Plaza now. So what I do like about the Plaza, like a bunch of people last year were like, I'm never coming back here. And the courts leave something to be desired. It's the courts are kind of concrete-ish. They're tough on the body. The glare can be bad when the sun's hitting the building on one end, so it can be tough to see visually. But I mean, from here, you can look out the window here and see the courts, which is really nice. Go down 20 floors, and you're at the courts without needing to walk anywhere. So the convenience factor is really clutch. It's really nice. So I like
underestimate convenience.
Oh no, we were talking about this last night. It's like, yeah, the Plaza's not the nicest hotel in the world, but to be able to be in a room on the 20th floor and just take an elevator down and be at the courts,
that's legit.
It's epic.
Remember when I was talking about Denver and the Jacquard? I was just like, I love tournaments.
Oh,
where I can
Cherry
just walk
Creek.
to
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
Like,
it matters a lot. To contrast Atlanta, Griffin, Georgia.
Can't walk to stuff?
So we had an Airbnb, and
Oh,
Benjamin,
no.
so I booked this Airbnb. Like it was a risky move in the first place, right? It had no reviews, but the host had other properties which had some decent reviews. So I was like, oh, maybe this is just they're just launching this new property and it's gonna be really nice. The pictures look fine, so I got it. We get there at 4:00, and the door to the garage is wide open. The door to the house is wide open. I'm like, are we at the right place? And we're on the fringe of some real sketchy area. And we eventually get in at 4:30, but the cleaners were still cleaning, and they didn't clean the kitchen at all. It was filthy. It was nasty. Neither here nor there. Benjamin gets in at like 10 p.m. It's pitch black outside. I'm sitting on the couch with Chris Miller, also known as Quesadilla by Jack. And I get a text from Ben, and he sends me a picture of where he's at. He goes like, "What is this place?" And it's like a front porch with like a bunch of old stuff on it and like just a filthy mess. And I knew he was across the street in like a really sketch area. It looked really bad over there. So I was like, I literally said out loud, "Oh no!" and then Mills jumps out the door and yells for Ben, and Ben comes across the street. But you were close to dying, probably.
Probably. I was just like, I don't want to walk in here and get shot.
Near-death experience. Yeah, 'cause Georgia, that could happen.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I was worried. I guess a little bit about Atlanta. Freestyle. I decided to play on Wednesday before the tournament, which started on Friday. So that was a late entry if there ever was one. So it was cool that Melissa and Ken still let us in.
Yeah.
And honestly, location is kind of standard for the APP. It's not really in the major city. It's, quite a bit outside of it, which isn't ideal. But I thought the courts were nice. They had 4 covered courts, which is convenient because it rained every day and we still got everything in.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. All around happy that I
I would say for an APP venue,
probably second after Delray.
Yeah, second after Delray, and not like it wasn't grand like Delray. It didn't have like a stadium court. It was just a typical park.
Delray was way better.
But every court there was a permanent dedicated court, and every court was separated by individual fences.
Plenty
which
of room.
I think is clutch.
Yeah,
plenty of room.
Yeah, no complaints about the courts. That's
it was
good.
a nice facility. So we did talk about Atlanta. Look at us.
Yeah, we did.
Right.
You know what? I just don't really want to talk about upcoming tournaments. I just, Plaza, Texas.
Well, I do.
Okay, what do you want to say, Robert? Aren't you playing with somebody good? Are you playing with Deckel here?
Are you playing with somebody good? Yeah, playing with Deckel here. I wasn't going to play, actually. I was going to come just to shoot these videos that we're going to do later today. But then Steve, who I played in Orlando, Steve Deacon, I guess his wrist hit a breaking point. He's going to have surgery on it. And hopefully he heals up. But Steve was supposed to play with Deckel here, so I'm filling in for Steve, not playing mixed. Yep, calling the reliever. So playing with Deckel, not playing mixed.
And it's Nunnery driving through the pickleball.
I was waiting for that. That's probably my favorite.
I just saw it here.
It's probably my favorite.
Now's the time.
That's my favorite voice you do. The Seabiscuit.
And it's Nunnery driving through the pickleball, driving to the backstretch, and it's a backhand roll.
I have to say, there's nothing better than a good horse racer announcer in the 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, the enthusiasm and passion that they show for
cadence
for doing horse racing is unparalleled.
Yeah.
We need to bring that into pickleball.
We got that from Seabiscuit. It's just so good. They all have these funny voices when they talk, and when they announce, it's even better.
Maybe we should try to get behind a mic this weekend and do a PPA match like that.
A 20s mat, a 20s throwback, yeah.
For women's,
we
for
even
women's
wear
doubles?
like top hats or something.
Anyways, Plaza, we're here. Like I talked about, actually, people hate on this place, and I might hate on it after I have to see the glare.
And playing 25-mile-per-hour winds.
And playing winds and all that. But anyways, the convenience factor is awesome. Small draws. Women's has, I think, 4 teams. Men's has 11.
That's the smallest men's draw I've played in a very long time.
There's no singles. Aren't there some throwback guys here this week?
Yeah. Ashworth and Nick Williams are playing.
Okay.
I'm excited to see how they do.
I've never met either of those guys.
Yeah,
so.
they're really awesome. So those are Pacific Northwest guys. They were both very good in 3-ish years ago, and they just kind of stopped playing during COVID, like tournaments at least. So I haven't seen them for a while. It'll be nice to see them and see if they can get some upsets. I think there's some other ones, but those are the only 2 I saw that jumped out at me.
Nice. And then Texas Open, same location as last year at the Oasis. No, is it the Oasis? In Rockwall?
I don't know. Actually.
It's in Rockwall. It was quite a big facility. Hopefully they didn't do the white court this year.
Yeah, no, they said they would not do that.
Okay, well, that's lovely. But yeah, I actually liked the Texas Open last year. I think it's a good venue. I'm playing singles, believe it or not.
Why?
I don't know. Oh, because I didn't have a mixed partner, and then I was like, yeah, I'll just play singles instead. And then I got a mixed partner. So now I'm playing all three.
And you know what's funny? I'm not playing singles.
Oh,
I wish I could be there to watch.
Why aren't you? You school?
I have an exam that day.
Yeah. Typical.
And I have one on Friday.
Do you?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that one?
That one I got, I'm able to do it online.
Okay, nice. But you will have to do it Friday?
Yeah, and it's in like a 50-minute time segment, so it's not like I can just do it
Anytime?
throughout the day. It's like
Yeah.
I need an hour segment.
Huh. Hopefully you get defaulted. With all due respect.
With all due respect.
Get defaulted.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that's Texas. It'll be fun. Also, MLP draft.
Fun. Let's talk about John Davison.
The People's Champ.
The People's Champion. Well, John gave me some shit for... do we have to make this episode explicit because I said that?
Yeah, now we do.
Really?
Yeah, earlier I said sweat my things off instead of sweat my nuts off.
Okay.
And now,
so now it's just
okay. The floodgates are open.
Dang.
Damn.
Okay, so John, yeah, he's one of our most dedicated fans. Listens to every episode.
Is he though, or is he a little snake in the grass?
I don't know.
Because he told me he's going to start his own podcast.
Oh, I think he's just talking.
He should talk. He should
he's
start his own
blowing
podcast.
smoke.
No,
he'd be funny.
He'd be very funny. Yeah.
But yeah, he listens to all our stuff, always commenting and likes it.
Yeah.
Maybe you should submit some questions, John. I'd like to hear what you have to say. But one thing that's cool about him is he races cars. He doesn't do Formula 1 because there's only 20 of those guys in the world. But I think it's cool because I recently got into Formula 1 and he races, so I could ask him fun questions about racing.
Yeah.
And I'd like to race sometime.
So I was talking to Olivia McMillan, I think in New Jersey Open. She was talking about John and him racing, and we're like, that's so cool. I'm like, what's cooler than a race car driver? Not much. Maybe a pilot? No, like a fighter pilot.
There's this scene from Rush that's so good. Like, you drive for Ferrari, and Nicky's like, because Nicky Lauda is this like, he's in a suit, he's got this hair comb, like he's just very, just not a typical driver, and she's like, no, you? Impossible. Formula 1 drivers, they have the sexy hair and the open shirt and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, no, you're right. So you got to do that, John.
Who's the actor in Rush?
I don't know his name, but he's really good. He played in one of the Marvel Avengers movies as well. I've seen him in a couple other things. He's very good. Then Chris Hemsworth is his main rival, and Niki Lauda's wife is really good in that too. I forget. They didn't use many main actors that I knew the names of, but they were all really good. One of my favorite movies ever, Rush.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen it. Oh, but John Davison, his apparently his mother. I mean, don't. This might not be fact, but I'm pretty sure his mother runs a race.
Marty Fish thinks he could beat you at pickleball.
I think
it's another one of these
I've
things.
got another story on that, but I think John Davison's mom runs the whole track, and she used to be a race car driver too.
Really,
is what I believe.
That's really cool.
John will probably tell us this is all wrong, and we're making up lies about his family, but that's what I heard. Marty Fish. So I was listening to a brief little snippet on the new, what is it, the Dink Pod?
Probably.
Pickleball Pod?
Yeah, something.
Thomas's podcast, Thomas Shields' podcast, and Tyson Apostle, and they had Doug Ellen on, and Doug Ellen was telling a little story about he played him and another, I don't know what level Doug is, I think 4-0 maybe.
He's a decent 4-5. He's
okay.
Pretty good.
Oh, so he's pretty good. Yeah. So him and his partner beat Marty Fish and Sam Query in like an actual match. That just made me think of Marty Fish.
That's really funny, actually.
And so I don't think you should worry too much about Marty Fish.
Okay, thanks. No, I played Sam before. Sam was actually pretty good when he was playing.
Not good enough to beat Randall.
Apparently not. I mean, it's pretty nerve-wracking to lose to a 3-0 at the time.
And a 3-0 that never stops talking.
Yes, correct. and like Sam was literally just like making errors. He's like, I don't know what's happening, man. I'm just so nervous to lose to this guy. It's like, yeah, I mean, I would be too. And then we played like some rec afterwards. He was actually much better. So I was like, dude, you've been in the semis of Wimbledon. Why are you getting nervous playing
so
random?
Just so tight. Because he knows he's never going to hear the end of it, and he doesn't.
He does not. That's great. You want to talk about paddles, Robert?
Yeah, I didn't have much to say other than the fact, just
It's a copycat industry. There are more paddles coming out like the Electrum.
Yeah,
The Electrum, we've talked about it, had its whole thing about its spin and all that. And the new Engage Pursuit is quite similar to it. And there's another new company called Carbon that apparently is pretty similar to it as well.
Yep.
So, people doing what they do in pickleball, copying things.
Yeah, but I think it won't be too long before every paddle company has a version of that paddle.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? It's just
for sure.
It's just too gritty.
Yep. It really, I don't know if, I think I mentioned this before, but I actually went to the testing facility for how all the paddles go through their certification process, and it's really cool. It's a very cool facility. But what everyone has to realize is you can't just change these regulations on a dime if something gets out of hand, just because there's time for rollback of paddles and like changing to anything new. So whatever standards you have in place right now, even if you wanted to change them, it would be like a minimum 18-month, 2-year rolling, like, hey, this is happening here, get your paddles ready for this.
Got it.
So these things are here to stay, at least for now.
Yeah.
Even if you think they're too gritty. Orlando experience. So I think this should have been in news, kind of. I mean, we talked about Tennis Channel a little bit, but I did get to see a little bit of the Tennis Channel broadcast just from some highlights on YouTube. And I thought Tennis Channel did a great job, which is kind of surprising given that they hadn't really done pickleball before. And they kind of had this rolling camera behind the court, one above the court. And, they brought some professionalism to the filming that was pretty cool to see. And I think they did a great job with that. And that was really the main attraction to Orlando. The facility itself, it's kind of right by the airport, which is nice because you are close. But also there's always airplanes flying overhead. It's a really spread out facility, so it's kind of tough to get anywhere. I just hung out at Championship Court the entire weekend. So I wouldn't say the venue was anything special, but Tennis Channel and the credibility that you have just by being at the USTA National Campus is pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool to see that campus, but I wasn't a big fan of how spread out it was. I played a couple matches on the far courts, which is a good probably 8-minute walk from the championship court. And I mean, all the courts are tight together, tape lines, temp nets, the whole deal. And there's obviously, a lot of the amateurs had a tough time because of that and because of the weather. A lot of stuff outside of control, but some stuff they can't control. But Orlando.
Yeah, just for some of the amateurs who I'm sure played that tournament, I heard quite a bit about amateurs not being happy with it. And as far as I know, it seemed that the campus did not give like an appropriate amount of courts to them because they had some other tennis tournament going on that weekend as well. So basically they had to kind of squeeze courts, and the courts were kind of close, tape lines, temp nets, all that stuff. And I think they were expecting to use these courts that were like for mini like junior tennis or something, and those ended up being plexi cushion, which the ball didn't bounce very high. So there were just some less than ideal conditions because of that. And I'm sure that, going back to that facility, they'll have learned that and know exactly how much space they need, and hopefully not have a ton of rain.
Yeah, and honestly, though, props to the PPA. They had, everybody that worked for them was working legit like 18-hour days.
Yeah, up at 5 trying to dry the courts.
So I saw them on the last day in the hotel, and they look like walking shells of zombies.
So done.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So they did their best, right? So
that's all you can ask. And
yeah.
Overall, I think they did a good job, and they're going to continue to do better. It's time. You know what? I didn't do my section. Oh gosh, that was all freestyle. Oh, you mean freestyle?
Oh, you got to do the segments better.
Hot takes.
Are we on hot takes?
We are. Let me talk to you about Softies Donuts.
Okay. Never heard of it.
So, Softies Donuts. AJ Kohler bought some Softies Donuts from the grocery store in Atlanta, and they were sitting on the counter. Me and Jack saw them at the same time, and we both literally shouted and just reached for the. It's like Softies, my favorite donut.
We're talking about the chocolate ones that are the best.
No, silence your mouth.
They're called Softies.
You shut your mouth when you're talking.
How have I never known what they're called? God, why? God. Hey, you hyenas, be quiet. Got Jack laughing, just egging Ben on.
You're just such an idiot. That's great.
Softies, I've never knew. Why would they be called
Yeah,
that?
so we like the triple blend box where you get some plain, some cinnamon, and some powdered, and they're just so moist and beautiful, and they taste amazing. You know, a lot of people will say, "Oh, you need a real gourmet donut." Believe me, I'm a gourmet donut master. Okay, I've tried all types of donuts, and my favorite donuts are in Bonita Springs, Florida, at a nice little place called Trackside Donuts. Very cute. Make it every day fresh at 4 a.m. But besides that, my favorite donuts that I can get on the regular over, Dunkin' Donuts or any of these stupid chains, I would like Softies donuts from the grocery store.
Chocolate.
No chocolate.
Chocolate's by far the best. Powdered is garbage. Okay on the plain.
Cinnamon is amazing.
Cinnamon is phenomenal.
Cinnamon is amazing.
Second to
plain,
chocolate.
No, chocolate's the worst.
Chocolate, cinnamon, plain, powdered. And powdered should be on the
Jack
list.
agrees with me, and we're the only 3 in this room right now, so it's 2 versus 1, and you lose.
I don't hear Jack.
Am I right, Jack? Thank you. I'm always right. Yes. No, actually, Robert's always wrong. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now you know that those donuts are actually delicious, so go get them.
Softies.
Mm-hmm. And what? I don't know. Okay, rally scoring and freeze scoring. So this was a suggestion from Casey. We should have Casey back on sometime soon.
Yeah.
But
we're going to see him today.
Yeah, we are.
Casey Pat.
He's going to...
He's going to make a cameo in OKBYE video.
Fantastic.
So
he suggested, if we go to rally scoring like volleyball had to, because they had the same transition as us, non-rally scoring to rally scoring for the Olympics, he said, it changed some things for sure. And a really good adaptation was free scoring, which just means when it's game point, it's no longer rally scoring. So that allows for those comebacks that wouldn't otherwise happen, which I thought was a really cool idea. If we're ever forced to go to rally scoring, which I don't think is ideal, but it definitely could need to happen for Olympics, then free scoring would be a good little change to that.
I'd like to read his response, verbatim here,
Sure.
just because I basically ask, hot topic right now is the move to rally scoring, trying to get more predictable match links, that kind of thing. He said it's a very hot topic. I was in both formats too. They changed it to rally for TV. It changed the game a lot, though. I could talk about this for hours. I said, well, for players, is it a net positive or negative? And then I said, for the sport, is it a net positive or negative? And this was his response. So to be honest, it didn't become this epic answer for TV. There became less chance of teams making a comeback. So if a team got a 4 to 5 point lead, 90% of games are already over. It lost a lot of the suspense. You guys have already covered a lot of the things good and bad in previous podcasts. I think the biggest thing we added that created a huge positive impact for everyone was the freeze. In a 2 out of 3 match, at match point, the score froze and went back to side-out scoring. We've had unreal comebacks from some teams, down 14-20 and coming back to win and then win the third set. It kept the entertainment value, and not one of the matches went over an hour. So it solved the problem for the TV time slot and helped keep blowout matches from happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I love
Very accurate.
Never even knew that was a thing.
Somebody that's already experienced what we're going through.
Yeah. So we should just take notes and not try to reinvent the wheel.
Correct.
Yeah.
I like to copy things.
It works.
It's the best way to do things.
It works.
My MO has always been copy things, but do it better.
Yeah.
Do you have any hot takes, Robert?
No.
Okay.
Hot takes throughout the whole episode.
That's
They
true.
come and
Your nuts one was good.
they come and go.
Okay, so strategy stuff. We promised to add a little segment on this, so I guess we'll talk about some pickleball for you guys. Gosh. So something that I think is pretty cool that I think I only realized probably about 2 years into playing is about hitting rolls off the bounce. So a lot of people watching pros see them hit balls from below the level of the net and hit it well, seem to attack it with pace, and it somehow stays in. That's a frequent question when I used to instruct a decent amount, where they're like, how do I do this? Like, how are you getting so much topspin? And what's funny is everyone's taught to hit the sweet spot, but you don't necessarily want to do that on a roll. The best rolls are actually hit near the bottom or the top of the paddle, rather. So it almost feels like a little bit of a miss hit, but there's a couple reasons you want to do this. First, you can generate a lot of paddle head speed to get topspin, but it won't go as far because you mishit it. It'll take off some of the power by not hitting the sweet spot. Also, when you make contact with the ball, it's going to be further away from your hand, which means you can get more topspin. right? The further it is away, just that like longer handle, longer paddle, any of that stuff gives you more topspin because you can get more torque. So both those give you more spin and less power, which keeps those rolls in. So I mean, if you really want to be practicing your rolls well,
Shank them.
yeah, I mean, okay, easy there. You don't need to be hitting the sweet spot. You should actually be hitting it kind of higher up on the paddle than that. Do you call that part of the paddle? Do you call it the top or the bottom?
I call it the top.
Huh. Yeah.
I would think the bottom would be by the handle.
Uh-huh.
Or the throat, as you would say in tennis.
For some reason, I kind of get disoriented. I'm just like, oh, that's the bottom of the paddle because it's the furthest part
down.
away from my hand.
I see.
So when I say bottom, everyone's confused. They're like, no, that's the top. I was like, is it though?
It's definitely the top.
Okay. And then we also had another request, and this will be in the questions, which we'll get to in a second, but on spin serves from Dwan.
Duani.
So Dwan, we'll just address your question now. Basically, he said, can we leave off the banter and focus on pickleball? And also, if you could talk about like the spin serve, I'd really appreciate that. So first of all, we're never going to leave off the banter and just focus on pickleball because we're freestyle. It's just not what we do. You'd be inhibiting our freestyle, and that would just never work.
And honestly, if you want just pure education, pickleball content, there's a million things on YouTube. There's other podcasts.
Such as Pickleball 360.
There you go. Oh, what a plug. What a shameless plug. But yeah, that's not what we do. Like we kind of talk about whatever we want to talk about and then throw in some pickleball.
And we don't care at all.
And we don't care. We love that you're listening to our podcast, but if you choose not to listen to it, that's also okay.
Okay, but to actually be nice and answer your question on spin serves, he was asking, like, how do I use it? Why do I use it? All that stuff. Mm-hmm. So the current way I use it is with two hands. I spin it off my fingers, not the paddle. Basically setting it on my two fingers, my right hand, and spinning it with my left hand. And depending on which way I turn my body and my hands, I can spin it a couple different ways. Generally, I can get it to jump a little bit each way, or I can just do straight topspin. I actually often use just straight topspin simply because I can hit the ball harder and still get it to dip and stay in, and it gets a nice little jump, which is ideal for singles. I don't think any one of my serves is that good for doubles. It doesn't really do much, but might as well. So yeah, I mean, if you want to try a spin serve, I'd start with topspin because it's the easiest to do, and then just kind of turn to the side to start getting side spin, and that'll give you some more errors. It's just a little more difficult to do. Okay, anything else in strategy that you wanted to add, Robert?
No, but I do think we should talk a little bit more about it because people
do like it.
People like this aspect. Cool. So what are you working on in your game right now?
I've been working on like the same thing for a long time, which is just mid-court stuff. Because I've always.
But you're a mid-court machine.
But I'm not, though. So I'd say easily the weakest part of my game is mid-court stuff. And, you know, whatever the percentage is that I make in mid-court, it's probably above, I don't know, 80%. But that's not really good in comparison. Most people are making, you know, over 95. And I feel like somebody in my position should be able to do that. And it's always frustrating me because when I practice it, I'm just like, other stuff I get quickly. Like I just focus and I do it. And then this, I'll just miss it. I was like, why'd you miss hit that ball? Just be better. Why? And then it usually all just comes down to me being lazy.
It's that's what it always comes down to with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those slow starts in singles, game one that you always lose.
Maybe, I don't always do that.
Maybe
okay, let's talk.
It's
about
like
that
every
real quick.
tournament. It's like every tournament. Every tournament, round one, you lose first game. Like on, it's like on.
Tell me
demand.
the last time that happened, other than Atlanta. Other than Atlanta.
I don't know. I don't keep up with your singles, but it happens a lot. Every time I look, he lost. You lose a lot of games in singles.
It didn't happen in TOC. No, I don't.
You do.
I didn't lose a game in Orlando.
Don't care. I don't care.
I didn't lose a game in Denver.
I don't remember any of that. I just remember you lose games a lot.
I don't.
You do.
I lose less games
in singles than
doubles.
And it's because you're not moving your feet and you're being lazy.
That's very accurate. When I do lose games, it's because of that. But I lose less games in singles than I do in doubles.
Maybe, but you still lose quite a bit of games in singles, and it's fun to watch.
Okay, Robert. But let me just say, in Atlanta, I played this guy first round. I think his name was Dylan. He's from Virginia. He actually learned pickleball from one of the guys I first learned pickleball with.
Yeah, he lit you up in game
to
one.
Rick Calling. And he started out on me 10-0. And I swear.
10-0? I didn't know that. That's so good.
Yeah, and I was being a little lazy. However, he was hitting just absolute lasers. Yeah, it's like sick passes, sick rolls. Has like, if he keeps this up, I don't care how well I'm moving, I'm not getting these balls. It's just not going to happen.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, so I ended up winning that 11-5. Then I beat him like 5-0 in the third game because he stopped treeing. But he was actually, he was very good, and he hadn't been playing all that long. He played some decent D1 tennis, so maybe he'll continue playing and be pretty good. But I was really surprised because he just then lost his first backdraw match. I was like, what happened? You were good. But yeah, that's just how singles goes. It's hard to hit winners consistently.
It is, yeah.
Is it time, Robert?
For
questions of the week. Questions.
God, so ridiculous and obnoxious.
Oh, you love it.
We've got quite a few.
Yeah,
we probably have more than this, but this is.
Oh, we have so many, but these are just the ones we chose.
Yeah.
I'll address the one from Ashworth. He actually asked this like a long time ago over text. So Brian Ashworth, the Beard, for those of you who don't know him, is a legend of the game. Been playing a long time. Started with Chris Mills Miller in Seattle, Washington. I known him for a long time. Great dude, and we're going to see him this weekend, which I'm very excited about. But his question are, who are some of your favorite partners and why? Who are your favorite people to play against? And what is your favorite Lululemon short? And he says if your favorite short is not the short by Lululemon, you're an idiot. Last one, absolutely agreed. I'm wearing the short right now, so you're correct, Brian. Favorite partners and why? CJ, because, we grew up playing tennis together. He was 6 years older, so we never got to play real tennis doubles together, and that's just a really cool experience to have. So getting to play pickleball with him and being kind of on the same terms and getting to do something you otherwise would never have gotten to is
Milk
is
Monster.
really cool. Milk Monster.
Jack liked that one.
Yeah, so that's really cool. I'd say playing with Kyle was really awesome from when I started with him, which was in 2017, 2018, 2019. Just because that was like my main growth period in pickleball, and it was really cool because he was the best at the time. So it's awesome to play with somebody that's just that fun, good mentor and all that. Favorite people to play, or favorite partners, I guess mixed is Simone, and that's pretty easy. She's kind of the ideal partner. She's the best, and she's never negative in any way. She's always just kind of what you'd want. Favorite people to play against, I'd say my favorite two are probably Steve Deacon and Adam Stone. And that's simply because they're both very good at what they do. They get a lot of balls back. They're also like two of my favorite practice partners. But they get a lot of balls back. They have good hands, but they're also somewhat predictable. So it's kind of fun because you get really good rallies and hands battles and that kind of stuff.
Can we talk about why Colin's Milk Monster?
Sure. Do you want me to tell it?
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. He basically just consumes a crazy amount of milk, and his bones must be made of iron at this point.
Whole milk.
Or 1050 stainless steel.
Whole milk, cow milk.
Yeah, he only drinks whole milk. He thinks that everything else is terrible. He probably drinks about a gallon a week, maybe more.
We're talking not like using cereal. Like we're just talking
just
like full pints of milk.
Yep. And Jack coined him the Little Milk Monster.
The Little Milk
That's all
Monster.
there is to it.
She claims that she has a great boomerang of Colin drinking milk, which I believe because it's not hard to catch him drinking milk.
All right, your move, Robert. Question from Zach.
From Zach, do you have any recommendations for stencils for a pop-up court or other easy ways to mark a court without lines? You touched on the problem in the second episode but didn't really offer a solution. We tend to do that. We find problems. We don't always have a solution. The affordable one that I've seen on Amazon is Boundary Alley, which looks pretty good. So I was wondering if you tried that or if you might have other ideas. Thanks. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. I was talking to Brittany, Thomas Wilson's wife, and because she's thinking about, she has like a business mind, so she's thinking about different ideas and stuff. And I was just thinking, like, the biggest opportunity in pickleball in terms of business, in my opinion, is hitting the 4 million people that don't know pro pickleball exists, like just the casual players. And I feel like something like this is like a kind of the ideal product, right? Like court. A pop-up court. Put it anywhere. It's just that's for anybody, regardless of level, that just wants to have a pickleball court. So to answer your question, I have no idea. I've never heard of Boundary Alley, but I thought about this exact same thing. I was like, how do you have a pop-up court that just has lines ready to go?
You'd need something thin enough to not obstruct play, but it's foldable and it's sturdy.
Yeah, what do you think? I even think like strings or something.
Strings get a little messy because they don't go straight.
And when you step on them.
There's some flexible plastics that could be thin and could do a good job.
Yeah, because right now all I've seen, I haven't seen Boundary Alley, but I've seen like just a little corner, markers.
No, ideally you want something foldable where it's literally like you just, it's probably a few feet by a few feet when it's folded all up, and then you can just kind of expand it to basically a full court. I think I could do it.
I feel like we should make this.
I feel like I could.
Yeah, why don't we try that?
Okay.
Stay tuned, Zach. We'll have a product for you soon. All right. So this is Shannon. And the question is, you've both mentioned how the evolution of the game, and partnerships in particular, is being driven by right and left-sided specialists. Can you expand on what skill set best defines a right-side player? I believe I have a grasp of the left side due to the obvious forehand in the middle. I'll let you take this one.
Sure. So there's a couple things. Yeah, left side player, forehand in the middle is, I'll address left side first, but left side, yeah, forehand in the middle is important. It's also quite important how well they dink with their backhand. It's important how well they move around the court because kind of the whole purpose of right side is the left side player will cover more than 50% of the court. So just having a big forehand doesn't do it. They also need good movement in the middle and cover in the middle a lot of the time. Backhand dink, important for obvious reasons. You're not going to do well over there if you don't have a good backhand dink. Right side player, it's, yes, important how well you dink with your forehand. I'd say the most important thing, though, is how well you fade. Fading just means going towards the side of the court, towards the outside, where you can't hit it, it's out. And then countering with your backhand generally is the play, simply because if you don't have to guess forehand or backhand, you can counter a lot more effectively. So you'll notice when I play with Colin, a lot of the time when we're getting attacked, whole fade to his right, I'll move to the right such that I'm covering the middle and he's only hitting backhand counters. And if you can do that well, it just means you're basically a more heavily backhand-centered counter player. And you fade well. Those are most the important things to me.
Boom.
On to spicy stories.
One more time.
Spicy stories.
One more time.
Spicy stories.
I like the change up. Spicy stories. You like that one?
I do like that one. You can take that one next time. So I heard this story in the Dink newsletter recently, and that is Ryan Sherry's retirement. So I just want to tell my side of it, or if you guys didn't read the Dink part of it, because I think it is a pretty funny story, actually. Basically, 2017, I practiced a lot of singles before the U.S. Open for January, February, March, April, up to the U.S. Open, mostly with Kyle and Ryan Sherry. Ryan... so in his mind, he won a lot of the practice matches. I'd say we went pretty even, but he was a good practice partner. And we ended up playing each other second round in the U.S. Open. And he's got his whole crew there. He's got his business partner, Brandon, who's like a 350-pound former linebacker. Like he's a big dude. He's loud, cheering for Ryan. Basically, his whole crew is pretty funny. But we have a really tight match, and I end up beating him 9-9. So that is his first tournament ever. He loses to me. It might have been first round. I forget if it was first round or second round. And basically after that, he dropped into the back draw and didn't play another pickleball tournament until after, during COVID.
Oh, that's so great. And when was that? What year? Sorry?
2017.
2017.
So what was funny is I didn't even have any expectations going to that tournament. I played, but I was still playing kind of mostly for fun. And I ended up winning singles that year. And Ryan was like, he was upset because he lost to me first round. And he's just like, I've been practicing with this guy. I've beaten him before. And he's not even that good. And then I ended up winning it. He's like, okay.
I think Sharebear's version is that you never beat him in practice.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. What a time.
But look at Sharebear now.
He's excelling.
He's back. He's out there.
Yeah.
He's just crushing the singles. What we got? What's next? Go.
That's all I got.
Oh, that's just the one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
We always save it for only one spicy story.
Oh, do we?
Well, we had that too one time when you had the helicopter. Can we just talk real quick about Thomas Wilson? You described him as this meek little child that would just listen to Zane, go get me some water.
Yeah.
And then I see him in Atlanta. He's just like, I was so upset about that story because you made me seem like this little child that would just be a meek little boy that listens to anybody. And I'm totally not that. And I don't like it. It's like, oh. Go get me some water.
Did you?
No.
Oh, you should have. You should have. Oh, it's funny.
Oh.
I mean, we said with all due respect.
With all due respect.
When you say that, you can do
you can
anything.
say anything you
it's
want.
It's a free-for-all.
It's a fact.
So hopefully Thomas starts playing more pickleball. He's been practicing with us at Dreamland.
Maybe if he gets a decent paddle.
He was playing with the Electrum.
Was he?
After every winter, he goes, $200, bro.
Hilarious. Yeah, I mean, it is better than what he's using.
Yes. Easy to say.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, bye.